So Tuesday I went up there, and the doctor was there. They gave me a physical. They stuck me in a room with the examination with a bunch of other guys. And it was a combination of math and just general knowledge. Well, to get 120 qualified you for any schools and so forth that you can go to at the time. I breezed through the thing, but I only made a 94 because I wasn't really concentrating on it and everything. So my 94 got me in, but it didn't qualify me for anything. Well, I went back there Wednesday morning, and they turned around. They said, "You're going to be up on a train there late this afternoon," and I reported in the Great Lakes. So I told my dad and mom what I'd done on Tuesday night, and my dad was pretty disappointed because he really had other plans for me. But I went into the Navy, got up the Great Lakes, and they put me in a 7-week company. That's how fast they were running it through. My 6th week was what they called service week, where you had to go to the galley and serve. They didn't have civilian people, they had all Navy, and you served the sailors and stuff and the recruits and things. And they had a big bin of strawberries. I ate strawberries till they came out of my ears. And a day and a half later, I had 105 fever, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. And they thought somehow I'd got malaria. So they stuck me in the hospital there at Great Lakes, and they put me in the contagious ward with all of the guys that had malaria, that had all kinds of diseases and stuff, and they were in different parts. And I started out the first couple days in the ward, in a bed, and the corpsman would come by and they'd shake me up, get me out of bed, make me make my bed, and stand at attention next to it, waiting for the doctors to come through. And I couldn't hardly stand. I was burning with fever and stuff. And the doctor came through, and that's when he decided I had to go to the contagious ward. And while I'm in the contagious ward, I break out in this phenomenal rash from my toes to my nose. And the fever broke. They had a rule in that hospital then that you had to stay in that hospital until a guy with your time in service and your pay grade came in to relieve you, because they used you to do the housekeeping, run the buffers and clean and swab and stuff like that. Well, after I got over the rash a bit, we had a lieutenant commander that was the nurse of the ward, and they had her cage, a little office cage, right in the middle of the ward. And it was all glassed, so she could walk and watch everybody around. And she came right in the middle of the movie and grabbed me by the ear, pulled me out of the chair. And she said, "Come with me." And she takes me into the contagious rooms with a bed, pick up a bedpan and put a fresh one in there. And then she said, "Come with me and empty the bedpans." And I said, "How do you do that?" And she said, "Come with me to the head." I went in there, and she shows me this contraption, looks like a urinal on the wall. It's got a pedal down there and a lever. And she said, you stick the bedpan in, you pull the lever, and step on the pedal, and it'll flush it all away. Well, she had me rattled. I pulled the lever, but I didn't step on the pedal. I stepped on the, pulled the lever, stepped on the pedal. It didn't close, and it blew crap all over both of us. So now I was really on her shit list. So, a couple days later, she comes in there, and again, right in the middle of the movie, she said, buff my office. Well, that office was no more than about 6 by 8 feet, and it had an old wooden desk in it and a chair. And I had never seen a buffer. I didn't know how to use that thing. And she says, it's simple. You pull the lever, lift up on it, it'll go one way, lift the other way, and it'll go where you want. I pulled it on full, it's crashed into the front of the desk and tore the whole front of the desk off for the wooden desk. So that ended my time in the ward, and they put me on the trash truck to the first class. You rate at Liberty, but you only rate at Liberty if you had finished boot camp. And I hadn't finished boot camp, but I didn't tell him that. So he gave me a Liberty pass, temporary Liberty pass, and I had a temporary ID, and that was Friday at 4 o'clock. I jumped a train and went to Chicago. Saw my folks and everything, and said hello to my girlfriend. Sunday, I jumped on the train, reported back, went into the lab or the office, and found out I'd been UA since Friday. Now I am in a whirl of crap. UA is when you go on unauthorized leave and you don't come back in the mornings for reveille and muster. So they had me UA, unauthorized absentee, and they sent me up to legal. Well, when I got to legal, they started doing a little investigation. Now, this is the time that I actually enlisted in the Chicago was the 25th of April. I wasn't 17 on the 25th, the 16th of May. So I was 16 years old from the 25th till the 16th. And they were going to court-martial me and kick me out. But then after I told my story about how I got in and stuff to the legal officer, they didn't want to cause a major prosecution of the first class that gave me on a dump truck that gave me the thing, or the first class bosun that enlisted me fraudulently. So they decided it was the easiest thing to do was just change my enlistment date to the 25th of May. And that's where they carry me. But all of my medical records and everything show me being in the Navy from the 25th of April. So I didn't get credit for those 20-some days, but they didn't kick me out of the Navy. And then I found out I was in a 9-week company, because you had to go through they had a Section 8 section where they took anybody that had a problem and put them in that section. You had to prove yourself. You had to do your laundry and everything, and make your bed all to there, and you got out of that, and then you went to the regular company and finished your recruit. They took the entire company that was upstairs from us, of 60 people, no, 120 people and 120 in my company, and they sent 180 of those guys all to the USS Bremerton for recommissioning, and they went up to San Francisco and chipped paint and got stuck on rehabbing the ship to recommission it. 5 of us were designated AR, because when the recruiter asked me what I wanted to be, I said, I'm not sure. And he said, you like ships? And I said, no, I get seasick. And he said, well, you want to be a Seabee? I'd never heard of that. I said, no. And he said, how about aviation? And I said, yeah, boss, put me in aviation. I like airplanes. And the 5 of us, aviation recruits, we got out of boot camp, put us on a train, and we took a troop train, rode that train for 3.5 days to San Diego. The troop train stopped at every major city across the country and picked up more people, Army, Air Force, everybody, and they put military guards so that you couldn't get off the train. Because I think the train was filled up with a lot of draftees, and they all knew they were going to Korea. So when we got on the outskirts of Las Vegas, the train got sidestepped there. We were supposed to pull into Los Angeles and then take another train from Los Angeles to San Diego for the 5 of us and a bunch of the Marines that were on board. They asked the porter on the train how long we would be there in the train yard at Las Vegas. And he says, oh, we're going to be here for a couple hours. And they didn't have any military guards to stop anybody from getting off the train. So I would say that 80% of the train bailed out and went to the Golden Shoe there, and the other ones right on the main drag, which were only about, I'd say, less than a mile from us. You could see them all there. I decided I didn't want to get in trouble again, so I stayed on the train. So did the other 5 guys. And the train pulled out in about 30 minutes and left all these people in Vegas. We got into Los Angeles, and then we came back down to San Diego, got off the train right at the foot of Broadway, Santa Fe Station down there. And as far as the eye could see, all I saw was uniforms, all the way up Broadway and all around. And I thought, we're still on the base. And there was a pickup truck there to take the 5 of us and our sea bags and everything. And we rode around the Strand. We went all the way down to the border, around up the Strand, and over to North Island.